Many people talk life is like a journey, and I was thinking about sailing. I used sailing as a way of finding the destiny and go toward that by going through what I call the PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act, starting with check. Check what's going on, figure out what's going on, analyze, develop a plan, and execute, and check what happened again, and continue that cycle. So you can go through the chart where you have been and move toward the destination. In the meantime, as you may make mistakes or whatever the insight you get, you can introduce those as a new plan so that we can improve the process called continuous improvement. So on one hand, there's a track record of what happened in terms of the location on the map. Also, we have the learning going on as we go through the journey. So that idea of sailing is very similar to the life's journey. The other thing I can think about is the saying of Zen Master Dogen. And he was using the boat analogy. You're on the boat and maybe go down the river, in his case, and you see the scenery changes, and you think that's what's going on in the world, but you should remember you're also changing. As you learn lessons, ages, evolves, sometimes you may develop a bad habit. So that's a sad situation. But if you're improving, you're changing yourself in that positive direction, and maybe you have your life more pleasant, happy. So that idea of the sailing or the boat and the changing yourself, changing the surrounding, and the learning the lesson, finding the wisdom, or making a mistake and kind of figure out what to do. So, and then you achieve your destination, you arrive at your destination, you stop and move on to the next leg. So I think that analogy is very appropriate. Now, I want to talk about that sailing analogy compared to some of the specifics I talked about. For example, how to come up with the wisdom and what's the meaning of delusion and coming out of the delusion and feeling a bliss, or just having a peaceful, quiet time. So in sailing, this is what I see. When you are facing the storm, high sea, strong wind, something breaks, that's the suffering. Your journey is not peaceful anymore. You have to use your brain, come up with the idea, address the issue. And it could be not just a physical thing, but the partner or the relationship with other crews. As much as in life, those things can happen. So on one end, how to go through suffering, coming up with a solution. And at the worst case, the boat may capsize, or you are thrown out into the ocean, and there may be shark around. How you deal with that? You cannot laugh at it if you are in that situation. And some of you may have had those cases, like I had once, meeting the shark or meeting the grizzly bear up north. There's a moment like that, and what do you do? So that's one scene of your journey. Or if that's the relationship issue and you have a disagreement in which direction to go or how to fix the problem, that's real. So how to come up with an idea, creative solution. And if there's nothing you can do, how to face the unknown, the imminent death it could be. So those are the scene in that saving that can happen. But if you can come up with the creative solution, it could be like you may feel like you're in nirvana. The sun is shining and the wind is blowing in the right direction and you have enough food and everybody's pleasant. No worries. So you have a blissful sensation and appreciate your life, which I have a YouTube video talked about. I talked about the suffering, I talked about the nirvana, and being happy, appreciating life. Or I talked about the zangi and kangi in Japanese, the suffering and repentance, and coming out of it in case of Myokonin. And in that case, maybe it's similar to when you're thrown out to the ocean, nothing you can do. But it may be a case when you're in the snow and you're cold, nothing you can do, and you're almost fading out and you accept what is to come. All your self-power is used up and accept. And in case of snow and cold, I hear people feel very peaceful to fade into that unknown of the coming death. But the case in Myokonin, or Zen too, you can talk about it, but I've been talking about Myokonin, so I use that example. Their case is, I like it quite a bit, that you accept nothing you can do and you let go of Amida Buddha to take over. You may be a sinner, repentance, all of that, but Amida Buddha take care of it. So you feel secured and feel happy. That's like a Satori moment. And there's a moment, and after that, you are much, much more peaceful, that you have some connection to the root is the word I used, or in this case, Amida Buddha, or nature's way, because law of nature, it's going to take over. As much you're going to face death, nothing you can do. But when you have that death coming up and be prepared peacefully, then you can still live life if everything is still moving okay, the journey continues. Still, you have up and down. So those are the symptoms that we can see, feel, experience, and go through in sailing with the analogy of what I've been talking about. Also using the brain to fix the problem if you can. But if you cannot know where to go, you can still fix the problem by letting go, accept it, be here and now. And there's that awakening, enlightenment moment that may come. So those are the different phases of life that comes and goes. And if we are familiar with that, wise man, compassionate man, mastery of how to live with the situation may happen. If it doesn't, you still have the master within. In case of Myokonin, that's the Amida Buddha. Or you can say God or law of nature. Ultimately, the law of nature took place for us to be on earth and be here and melting into the nature. So there's a peace. What did I accomplish developing the analogy of the sailing trip and many of the things I talked about? I think the point is that, Dogen's analogy of life, things change. We change. But the principal way remains the same. The journey continues. When we die, journey continues the same way as the law of nature has taken us to be here, from a baby to adult and old age, or whatever the way you pass away. And the molecules, atoms may disintegrate, law of entropy, but the wisdom of the universe, if you call that, will recombine, and create another different type of organism. And if you are one with the root of being with the nature's way, that's it. That's what it is. That has been, that will be, and that is. That's the journey of life. And I use the word, we can be like riding the wave of universe, or sailing trip in the vast universe. So if we get this sense of analogy of life's journey and relate to specific experience we have, as much as the discussion we have had on this video, wisdom, compassion, problem solving, PDCA, Shira Samadhi Panya, melting into the nature, two universes, but there's a way to connect. Those are all the elements that we can have to go through this journey and have fun. That's what I think. And every now and then, we have a moment of silence. Relate to everything that's happening externally and internally. At peace. And move on to the next challenges, next leg of the journey, whatever that may be.